Yeah. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari. Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari. Yashodanandana Bhajana Ranjana. Yashodanandana Bhajana Ranjana. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Mishnapad Paramahansa Padavidakacharya Ashtottara Sri Srimad. His Divine Grace Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai. ISKCON BBT Founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Padavidakacharya Ashtottara Sri Srimad. Divine Grace Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Ki Jai. Ananda Koti Vaishnavindra Ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Srimad Bhagavad Gita Ki Jai. Samaveda Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glory to Sri Guru and Gauranga. Okay, let me just... Okay, that will be on page 246 at the top, text number 18. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Okay. On the 7th day of July, 7th? It is 7th? Wait, no. 4, 5, 6, 7, 7th. All right, let me start again. All right. Yeah. Okay, on the 7th day of July 2025 in San Diego, we're reading from Srimad Bhagavad Gita as it is, translation and commentary by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. We are in chapter 5, Karma Yoga, Action in Krishna Consciousness. Text number 19 at the top of page 246. And my dear Chad, I think we need to turn this down just a little bit. Is it okay if you turn it down? I think you can hear me all right. Hari Hari Bol. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Did you turn it down?
Unless you switch the different ports.
No, I think it's, well, it's Hari Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol. Oh, thank you. Hare Krishna. Appreciate it. Okay, I think we can go. We can do it. Anyway, I'll just speak a little softer. That's it. I'm sorry?
When I listen at the morning classes at home, it's a lot.
Oh, okay, we'll have to turn it down. Yeah, we'll turn it down. Okay. Okay. Vidya Vinaya Sampanne Brahmane Gavihastini Shunichaiva Swapakecha Pandita Samadarshinaha Vidya Vinaya Sampanne Brahmane Gavihastini Shunichaiva Swapakecha Pandita Samadarshinaha Vidya Vinaya Sampanne Brahmane Gavihastini Shunichaiva Swapakecha Pandita Samadarshinaha. Vidya Vinaya Sampanne Brahmane Gavihastini Shunichaiva Swapakecha Pandita Samadarshinaha. Go ahead. Vidya Vinaya Sampanne Brahmane Gavihastini Shunichaiva Swapakecha Pandita Samadarshinaha. Mahima, are you there? Guess not. Okay, Vidya with education, Vinaya and gentleness, Sampanne fully equipped, Brahmane in the Brahman, Gavi in the cow, Hastini in the elephant, Shuni in the dog, Cha and Eva certainly, Swapake in the dog eater, the outcast, Cha respectively, Pandita, those who are wise, Samadarshinaha, who see with equal vision. Translation. The humble sages, by virtue of true knowledge, see with equal vision a learned and gentle Brahman, a cow, an elephant, a dog, and a dog-eater are outcasts. Purport. A Krishna-conscious person does not make any distinction between species or castes. The Brahman and the outcast may be different from the social point of view, or a dog, a cow, and an elephant may be different from the point of view of species. But these differences of body are meaningless from the viewpoint of a learned transcendentalist. This is due to their relationship to the Supreme. For the Supreme Lord, by His plenary portion as the Paramatma, or Supersoul, is present in everyone's heart. Such an understanding of the Supreme is real knowledge. As far as the bodies are concerned, in different castes or different species of life, the Lord is equally kind to everyone because He treats every living being as a friend, yet maintains Himself as the Paramatma regardless of the circumstances of the living entities. The Lord as the Paramatma is present both in the outcast and in the Brahman, although the body of a Brahman and that of an outcast are not the same. The bodies are material productions of different modes of material nature, but the soul and the supersoul within the body are of the same spiritual quality. The similarity in the quality of the soul and the supersoul, however, does not make them equal in quantity, for the individual soul is present only in that particular body, whereas the Paramatma is present in each and every body. A Krishna conscious person has full knowledge of this, and therefore he is truly learned and has equal vision. The similar characteristics of the soul and the supersoul are that they are both conscious, eternal, and blissful. But the difference is that the individual soul is conscious within the limited jurisdiction of the body, whereas the supersoul is conscious of all bodies. The supersoul is present in all bodies without distinction. Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnanandana Shalakaya Chakshu Unmilitam Mena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. I was born in the darkest of ignorance, but my spiritual master Srila Prabhupada opened my eyes with the torchlight of knowledge. I offer my humble obeisance unto him and to all members of Sri Parampara. So this is a famous verse describing the vision of the Pundit, someone who's truly wise in the science of Krishna consciousness, and more than wise, realized actually. So it's this idea of seeing the essence. The essence of everyone is the soul. We all are a soul, and we have a body. We all have different bodies. And if we're in total material consciousness and controlled by the modes of nature, then we regard ourselves as our body, and we regard the others as bodies. And we're very concerned oftentimes with nationality or race, certainly with gender, and all these different considerations. But we lose the essence, which is to see everyone equally as a spirit soul. And if we're in the mood of what Lord Chaitanya, what he wants us to be, to see everyone, at least every human being, as a candidate for coming to Krishna, for realizing themselves. And this is the basis of the Sankirtan movement. Of course, even in our Madhyama Adhikari stage, in the intermediate stage, we're meant to make distinctions. We have to make distinctions. Ishvare tadadineshu balisheshu dvishatsucha prema maitri kripaopeksha karoti samadhyama. Madhyama is defined as he has different relationships with four different categories of entities. The first is with the Lord. For the Lord, he tries to have love and service. Bali said prema, love, which means devotional service and actual affection. And adineshu, those related to the Lord, the devotees, he expresses friendship and kinship, you see. Those who are bala means they're innocent. They're not demons. They're not automatically inimical toward devotees. He tries to show them mercy by giving them Krishna consciousness. And for the out-and-out demons, those who are declared atheists and you know, enemies of the devotees, you avoid them. You don't try to convince them because they're not convincible. You know. So that's the intermediate devotee, and that's the stage Srila Prabhupada wanted us all to come to. That to be at least on that stage where we see everyone who's not a demon as a candidate to be connected to Krishna, one way or another. Even a cat or a dog, you give them some prasadam, somehow or other you connect to Krishna. Maybe it's sentimental, but sometimes when I'm on my walk, you know, there's trees on one side, sometimes plants, and another upcasts, you know. You maybe walk up there, little small trees. So I'm chanting and I touch them, you know. I give them a little, because there's consciousness there, and if it can do some good, it's not doing me any harm, you know. And I remember Haridas Thakur spoke, and I think in Harinam Chintamani, how one should chant loudly. He should spend some time, you know, out in the patio, you know, chanting to the plants, you know, and things like that, because it has its effect. It creates a certain atmosphere. So this is the famous verse because the Pandit means someone who's learned, who's seeing through the eyes of Shastra and through realization. and sees all these different categories which are radically different. You've got the Brahman, you've got the cow, you've got the elephant, and the Shuni, the dog, sorry, and the dog eater on equally in an important sense, because they all are souls and they all have the super soul there, you know. So this kind of vision, you can see how radically different it is from today. There's so many distinctions, and oh, you're an illegal, you know, and arrest you, and it's just insane. And the color, everything, by so much racism, you know. So that's the people are steeped in the ignorance, which is a barrier. You know, we chant every morning, Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnanandjana Shalakaya Chakshuramiditam Mena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah. I don't know if I did it, so let me do it. I was born in the darkest of ignorance, but my spiritual master Srila Prabhupada opened my eyes with the torchlight of knowledge. I offer my humble obeisance to him and all members of Sri Parampara. So immediately you recognize, oh, I really was in ignorance, but by good fortune, I had the good fortune of meeting the spiritual master, or representative, and he enlightened me about reality. We're into reality, although people think that we're into, you know, unreality. But this is reality, and we know that they're living a dream world, as if, what's the most amazing thing? You know the answer to the question, what's the most amazing thing? There's a background in the Mahabharata. There's a story. They're out in the forest, you know, because they were exiled for a long time. So I think Kuntī is with them. Certainly Draupadi is with them. And there's the 5 Pandavas together, you know. So they need some water. Everyone's thirsty. So he sends Bhima, you know, to go find some water. So he finds a big, nice pond of fresh water. And he's about to take some for himself and then go back and tell the others. But an unembodied voice says, no, you cannot drink from there. That's my pond. You have to answer these questions first. So Bhima says, yeah, all right. You know, so he drinks, but he falls down unconscious, you know. So then Yudhishthira goes, no, Yudhishthira is not, Arjuna goes next. And the same thing happens. And the same thing happens with the twins. So now Yudhishthira says, now where is everybody? You know, so he goes, but he's Dharma personified. So if this pond belongs to someone else, then I can't drink it, you know. So he accepts that. So then there's a whole question and answer thing. Now it's actually his father, his actual father, Yamaraj, who's asking the questions. So the questions are all very important and answered, but there's one that sticks out and is often quoted. What is the most amazing thing in the world? And so he answers the right answer. Ahanyahani bhutani gachanjihi yamalayam sheshakstavanamichanti kamaschayamatakparam. Ahanyahani means every day. Ahar is the name for day. Ahanyahani bhutani, all living beings, and especially human beings, there's so many millions and billions of us, are dying and being drawn off to Yamaraj to be judged, you know, whatever, you know. But amazingly, those who are left act, although they know, of course, that eventually they're going to die. But they act as if they'll never die, as if things will go on, you know. We think, you know, you can't, if you don't have to, you don't want to face your own mortality, right? You try to put that out, you try to enjoy something, or just, you know, think, well, somehow, you know, by the time I'm that age to die, the scientists will figure out how we'll keep us from, you know, whatever, you know, it's crazy. But so people are not willing to face that reality. But that's one of the main aspects of knowledge. You go to chapter 13, and from 8 through 12, or 8 to 11, I think, forget, there's a whole list of about 20 different elements of knowledge. And you know what the first one is? It's the door to all the other, to understand all the others. Humility. Amanitvam, adambitvam. Now Prabhupada would always, you know, humility and pridelessness, Damba. But Damba means false pride. It means hypocrisy. It means hypocrisy, and it especially applies to those who want to be seen as religious but really aren't religious. You know, I always think of the gangsters in, I told this story many times, maybe you forgot. When I was a kid, there was a magazine called Life magazine. You would maybe remember Life magazine. I don't think any of these other youngsters can remember it. Anyway, there was time in life. So time has still survived, you know. I mean, even in this age with the internet. But the life, it expired sometime in the early 70s, I think. But anyway, when I was growing up, I would read it. My parents would buy it. It would be at home. It's full color, big pictures, you know. And they did a whole special on the mafia, believe it or not, I think in New York. And they had a gallery of pictures. It wasn't like police shots, you know. It wasn't that, but it was just like, and none of them looked very happy, you know. But you read the story and you read about them, you learn about them, and they like to go to church. Many of them are Catholic, right? They like to be seen going to church, right? That's perfect example of Dhamma, the way it's used in the Bhagavad Gita in the books. To not be really religious, but to want to be seen as religious because it gives you credit in the normal society, you know. So here it says, amanitvam adambidvam. Don't be hypocritical, you know, about being religious. Actually, be religious, and don't be prideful. Amanitvam is like amanina, manadena, the same word, you know. So why? Because that humility before the authority of the guru, of course, is essential to open up the channel so that you can receive the knowledge and be receptive to the knowledge. If you're very proud of your learning, you know, you'll challenge, you know, that you're not going to be able to receive. So the learned Pandit, who's another word for a wise person devotionally, he sees that his or her situation is fortunate because you understand that you're not the body. You understand your relationship with Krishna, and you're living that relationship. And you see that everyone else is also a spirit soul and has at least the potential for also awakening that relationship. So in many ways we're equal. We're the same, even with subspecies. Or here it's like it says a dog. You know, he sees the dog as on an equal level. So that means that you deal with everyone as a spirit. Like for the dog, you know, just kick him away or whatever, you know. You give him a little prasadam like that. I like to tell the story of this cat we had here. They gave him a name, I think Narottam or something. No, you can't name a cat Narottam, but it's stuck, you know. And he would always come around at breakfast, and I would arrange for a little leaf and put some kheer on there, because cats love milk, you know. So he became a total addict for kheer, which is great. It's prasadam, you know. So that's an important vision that those who advance in devotion can see the spirit within everything. That, you know, seeing and understanding that God is everywhere, not only in the living beings, but even in the atoms. All right, look at this building. It's made of molecules and atoms, you know, and Krishna is present there within every atom as a super soul, and most important, he's on the altar as a deity. So seeing God everywhere is an important first step. In the second canto, there's a chapter called The First Step in God Realization, I think. And it's all about the universal form. This is another way, you know, important thing of seeing that everything, of course, is a creation of the Lord, right? Om Purnamadak Purnamidam, everything is. But he's also present everywhere, and you can even see the universe and the thing as, you know, the moon and the sun are his eyes, and the rivers are the veins, and the mountains are the skeleton, like that. You know, there's certain. In this way, you train your vision to see the world as a manifestation of God, a manifestation of the Supreme. So that's the idea. He treats every living being as a friend, yet maintains himself as the Paramatma. This is the Paramatma. But if we're also tuned in to the Paramatma, who's none but Krishna, then we'll also see everyone, you know, at least potentially as a friend. And this probably was asked. I was just watching one of the things. I think that was following Srila Prabhupada. You know, that was beautiful. And someone told Prabhupada, "Everyone loves you," and he said, "Yes, because I love everyone." You know, you can feel that kind of kindness and openness. So that's a real quality of devotees. Okay, so let's go on. Ihavatarjitak sargo. Text 19. Yesham sam yestitam manaha. Nirdosham hi samam brahma. Tasmad Brahmani te stitaha. Those whose minds are established in equanimity have already conquered the conditions of birth and death. They are flawless like Brahman, and thus they are already situated in Brahman. Purport. Equanimity of mind, as mentioned above, is the sign of self-realization. Those who have actually attained to such a stage should be considered to have conquered material conditions, specifically birth and death. As long as one identifies with this body, he is considered a conditioned soul. But as soon as he is elevated to the stage of equanimity through realization of the self, he is liberated from conditional life. In other words, he is no longer subject to taking birth in the material world, but can enter into the spiritual sky after his death. The Lord is flawless because he is without attraction or hatred. Similarly, when a living entity is without attraction or hatred, he also becomes flawless and eligible to enter into the spiritual sky. Such persons are to be considered already liberated, and their symptoms are described below. So, equanimity itself is not going to take you there, but it's a symptom of someone who's situated in God consciousness and Krishna consciousness. What is it that makes us lack equanimity? Well, we're leading a life of relativity. You know, if the body is nicely fed, then I feel okay. Otherwise, you know, that's the heck with you. I'm going to cut in line in McDonald's or something. You know, in other words, you're always in that mood of, you know, what's happening in my environment? Where can I go for pleasure? How can I get away from pain? And that world of duality is the world of the conditioned soul and relativity, because sometimes there's not enough food, sometimes this happens. We look at some of the great heroes of our, you know, of the Srimad Bhagavatam. Who do we see who's equal? You know, Prahlad Maharaj, he's like the ideal example of that. Despite being, you know, threatened and tormented and boiled in oil, he just chanted Hare Krishna, or maintained his absorption in Krishna, and Krishna protected. That's one of the symptoms of surrender, to always be feeling that Krishna will protect and maintain. So he was the ideal in that. And then you have someone like Haridas Thakur, who's another example. Perfect, you know, he tolerated the allurements of the prostitute, and even Maya personified came to try to allure him, and he was not allured. And he was beaten, you know, 22 marketplaces, and he was, you know, he was equipoised in that. And another example is King Ambarish, who was threatened, you know, by the Kṛṣṇa, the fiery demoness from Durvasa Muni. And he says, well, if it's my turn to go, you know, on body, you know, let it be burned. But of course he wasn't burned. His chakra, the chakra that Krishna had given him to protect him, came and burned that Kṛṣṇa, and then went after Durvasa. Durvasa, although he's a great yogi, he wasn't equipoised. You know, he ran, he went here and there, he went to Shiva, said, I can't help you, went to Brahma, what can I do? He only went all the way to Vishnu, I think he went to the local Vishnu planet, the Vaikuntha planet. You know, in the universe there's a planet, Dhruvaloka, that is where the ocean of milk is there, and, you know, so there's Vishnu's there, but it's not, you know, outside of the universe of Vaikuntha Loka. But anyway, he was able to go and asked Vishnu himself, please withdraw your chakra. You know, he was like, said, I can't do anything. I'm dependent on my devotees. You have to go down to Ambarish and get relief. And he did, of course. So this equipoise in the dualities of this world, there's always going to be something. It'll be too cold, too hot. You know, that's just the nature of this world. But to remain equipoised in that, you know, situated in your remembrance of Krishna and your understanding of the temporality of this material world, is a sign of real advancement. And he's describing in the previous verse and this verse, establishing, they've already conquered the conditions of birth and death. So the only way to get the implication there, the only way to get the equanimity is to be Krishna conscious, you know, to be truly on that platform. Then you can go back to Godhead. They're already situated in Brahman. All right. He becomes flawless, eligible to enter the spiritual sky. So here we have more symptoms of such a person. Text 20. Na parishyet priyam prapya, nodvijet prapachapriyam, sthita buddhira sammudho, brahmavid brahmanistitaha. A person who neither rejoices upon achieving something pleasant, nor laments upon obtaining something unpleasant, who is self-intelligent, who is unbewildered, and who knows the science of God, is already situated in transcendence. Purport. The symptoms of the self-realized person are given herein. The first symptom is that he is not illusioned by the false identification of the body with his true self. And this word illusion was edited to deluded. Illusion is a word, but it's not a participle, it's an adjective. So you can't be illusioned by something. But you can be deluded. That he is not deluded by the false identification of the body with his true self. He knows perfectly well that he is not this body, but is the fragmental portion of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He is therefore not joyful in achieving something, nor does he lament in losing anything which is related to his body. So these are material things, obviously. This steadiness of mind is called sthita buddhi, or self-intelligence. He is therefore never bewildered by mistaking the gross body for the soul, nor does he accept the body as permanent and disregard the existence of the soul. This knowledge elevates him to the station of knowing the complete science of the Absolute Truth, namely Brahman, Paramatma, and Bhagavan. He thus knows his constitutional position perfectly well, without falsely trying to become one with the Supreme in all respects. This is called Brahman realization, or self-realization. Such steady consciousness is called Kṛṣṇa consciousness. So, this word nodvijet, not udvijet. Now, this recalls a wonderful verse quoted by Prahlad Maharaj. You remember his father, when he came back from school one evening, he took him up on his lap and he smelled his head, which is a sign of affection. And then he asked him, "What's the best thing you learned today?" Right? This was the first encounter he had with his son. And then this was the first time that Prahlad revealed that he was a devotee. So things developed after that. So what does he say? What's the best thing you learned? He said, Tat sadhu manye. Now you remember I've been emphasizing this. The word sadhu, which also means a saint, a sage, obviously, can also mean an adjective, very good. That's very nice, you see. So he says, oh, this is the best thing. Tat sadhu manye, in my opinion. Tat sadhu manye asurabarya nehinam sada samudvigna diyam asadgahat hitvatma patam griyamandakupam vanam gatoya dhanamashvayeta. So he uses the word udvijay. Tat sadhu manye asura. He doesn't call him father. He calls him the best of the demons. Asurabarya dehinam. Best for whom? For the conditioned soul. You see. Who is sada samudvigna, who's always disturbed. Why? Asadgrahat, because you're holding on for dear life to what is temporary. First of all, this body. You're thinking, this is my body, I'm going to protect it and keep it, which you can't hold on to ultimately. Or you're like holding on to your money or something that you have, and this is protecting you. But they're all very ephemeral. The money can come and go, the body certainly comes and goes. Or you have a boat out here on, something. I came downstairs in my apartment. The people who live under me have lived under me for several years now. The guy is a musician, and the lady is his girlfriend or wife, whatever. And there was this huge, it looks like an overgrown surfboard that was leaning against the stairs I was coming down. I said, what is this thing, So as I got to the bottom, she came out of the apartment. I said, that's not a surfboard. I said, no. You stand on it and you paddle. It's a big thing. So I think she went out to the ocean with that. So that's a sadgrahat. You're in the boat, right? And the boat, is fine. We've taken it out so many times, so many excursions. But this time, the boat springs a leak, right? So suddenly you're panicking. My God, the boat is sinking. We're out here, 3 miles from the shore. So we've taken shelter of something that's asat. But luckily we've got these life preservers. So we can get the life preservers on, we jump into the ocean, swim a little away from the boat. We don't get caught in the boat sinking, But then the life preservers themselves may be a little faulty, and gaining water, and you have to, So this is a udvijate, disturbed by taking shelter of something impermanent. And that's the whole world. The whole world is impermanent. The body is certainly impermanent. And so I saw so many people when I was working in the hospital, who died, who were about to die. And they just were so miserable because they felt, some of them were very wealthy, so-called, and now they're brought to this situation where they're helpless, and it's just terrifying. If you don't have any knowledge of the eternity of the soul, especially if you're not Krishna conscious, then death is a horrifying thing. The whole world everything is being taken away. Everything is being taken away. Your beloved family and your wealth and your plans and your very body, what's going to happen? You can imagine. So, but devotees, those who are a little mature, especially if you're advanced, you can face death with equanimity. And I've seen that amongst devotees. With chanting in the hospital room, so many hospital rooms I've chanted. And for the most part, they're very, very peaceful and happy. Because they're absorbed in the holy name, And so that's the great advantage. We all have to face that. So those who are not disturbed, in happiness and distress, minds are established in equanimity. They've conquered birth and death, means that they're going back to Godhead. And 20, which we read also, they're not elated at something that's good that happens, or disturbed, nodvijade, when the unpleasant things happens. What did Ambarish do? He just kept standing there. This big fiery demon is coming at him to burn him to ashes. So he just panic and run off. No, he just said, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare. And his protector, the chakra, came, and So that's the difference. All right, let's move on. Now these are the two verses that I often chant. Without this, you recognize, especially 22. 22 is it. Bhayasparshesva saktatma. All right, let's try that again. Bhayasparshesva saktatma. Vindatyatmani yat sukham. Sabbrahma yoga yuktatma. Sukhamakshayam. Such a liberated person is not attracted to material sense pleasure, but is always in trance, enjoying the pleasure within. In this way, the self-realized person enjoys unlimited happiness, for he concentrates on the Supreme. Purport. Sri Yamunacharya, a great devotee of Krishna consciousness, said, Yadavadi mama cheta Krishna padaravinde Navanamara Sadaman Yudjitam Hrantamasi Tadavadi Badanadi Sangame Smayamane Bhavati Mukhavikara Sushtunishti Vanangcha. Since I have been engaged in the transcendental loving service of Krishna, realizing ever new pleasure in him, whenever I think of sex pleasure, I spit at the thought, and my lips curl with distaste. Close quote. A person in Brahma Yoga or Krishna consciousness is so absorbed in the loving service of the Lord that he loses his taste for material sense pleasure altogether. The highest pleasure in terms of matter is sex pleasure. The whole world is moving under its spell, and the materialist cannot work at all without this motivation. But a person engaged in Krishna consciousness can work with greater vigor without sex pleasure, which he avoids. That is the test of spiritual realization. Spiritual realization and sex pleasure go ill together. A Krishna-conscious person is not attracted to any kind of sense pleasure due to his being a liberated soul. So in a few minutes I'm going to read you a poem that you may not have heard yet. This is the sweet poem. Everything is sweet. The king of sweet, you'll see. So this is how devotees get pleasure. They meditate on Krishna's sweetness. And then they're completely satisfied. So this is, notice the word sukhamakshayam ashnute. It means to enjoying unbreakable happiness. Bayasparshesu asakmat, he's not attracted to that touch of the external touch of the senses to the sense objects. Because Vindajapmani Yatsukam, enjoying the pleasure within, contacting the super soul, the reservoir of pleasure. Sab Brahma Yoga Yuktatma, he's always linked up to Brahman, the Supreme Brahman, Krishna, through yoga, through Bhakti Yoga. And he enjoys unlimited, unbroken happiness. And of course the example here is Yamunacharya, who had been it's a wonderful story. He was a very advanced brahmachari devotee, you know, he was in the ashram and everything. And very brilliant, you know, and he went to the king's palace one time because he heard there was a great pundit there. And he wanted, you know, but he was extremely learned and good at, you know, intellectual combat, so to speak. So he went there and he challenged the court pundit who had defeated everyone else, you know, in debate. So the king was kind of laughing. It was like, geez, he's just a kid, you know, he's just 13 years old or 15 years old, whatever it was. So he said, okay, if you can defeat my pundit, then I'll give you half the kingdom. You know, king was quite confident that he wouldn't have to do that. But Yamunacharya, and I'm going to try to research this so I can get up. He posed some questions to the pundit, none of which he could answer. You know, they were all like puzzle questions, and I'll get it. It's very enlivening. So anyway, he defeated the pundit, and he ended up with half a kingdom. So he quit the ashram, and now he's the king. And the king can enjoy all kinds of stuff, you know. So he's remembering this life as a king. I don't know how many years it was, maybe 10 years at most. But so how did he get out of that, you know, situation? One of his old friends from the ashram came to visit him and said, "Oh, so-and-so Das, welcome," you know. And so they were chit-chatting, you know, and so the friend suggested they take a little walk, you know. He had all these gardens and grounds, you know, so he's walking. And he starts to chant some of the nectar shlokas that they used to know back in the ashram, you know. And Yamunacharya said, "Oh, so happy." He said, "Oh, I remember that one. You remember this one?" And before long, they're chanting. And they just keep walking. He just walked right out of that kingdom and went back. I don't know, went back to the ashram, but he became Yamunacharya at that point and wrote the Stotra Ratna, which Prabhupada often quotes. So this is the state of Krishna consciousness, always in touch with, not with the Maya, with the external stimuli, but with the Lord within. Atmani Yatsukam, joining this pleasure within by Krishna consciousness. Brahma Yoga Yuktatma, having linked up through yoga, Bhakti Yoga, to Brahman, the Supreme Brahman, Bhagavan. And Sukham Akshayam Ashyante, that you cannot have this Sukham Akshayam in the material sphere. Akshayam means unbroken. Where do you have material sense pleasure that doesn't end? It ends too soon, right? Oh, I wish I could eat another sandesh, but I've already had 35, so I can't have one more. I can't even think about it. So, and here's this other verse that I quote all the time that some of you may know. Okay, Suresh Swar, you're welcome. Come on in. Haribol Prabhu. It's wintry out there. I just get cold. It's too cold. Okay, so here's this famous verse. You want a book? Give him a book. Here. He gave you his book, huh? Oh, you can't have glasses? So just listen. You'll be able to memorize. Okay. You probably heard this from before. I chanted every other class. Yehi sangsparja ja boga. Let's try it again, so Antonella can get it. Yehi sangsparja ja boga. Dukkayonaya evate. Ajyantabanta kaunteya. Nateshu ramate buddha. Wow, this is the revised translation right here. This must have been printed in the last year or two. An intelligent person does not take part in pleasures which are due to... Now, you may have a different translation. Do you have a different translation? Okay, I got a new book here. An intelligent person does not take part in pleasures which are due to contact with the material senses. O son of Kuntī, such pleasures are the sources of misery and have a beginning and an end, and so the wise man does not delight in them. Purport. Material sense pleasures are due to the contact of the material senses, which are all temporary because the body itself is temporary. A liberated soul is not interested in anything which is temporary. Knowing well the joys of transcendental pleasures, how can a liberated soul agree to enjoy false pleasures? In the Padma Purana it is said, Ramante yogano nante satyanande chidatmani iti rama padenaso padam brahma vidiyate. The mystics derive unlimited transcendental pleasures from the Absolute Truth. And therefore the Supreme Absolute Truth, the Personality of Godhead, is also known as Rama. In the Srimad Bhagavatam, also 551, it is said, Nayam deho deha bhajana loke Kṛṣṇa kama narate. Okay, let's see if you can chant this one. I'll say, you say. The meter is very simple. Nayam deho deha bhajana loke Kṛṣṇa kama narate vinbhujange Tapo divyam putraka yena sattvam Shuddye yasmam brahma saukyam tvanantam. Tvanantam. Without end, anantam. So this verse, as I pointed out, I think in some classes you probably heard, when the fifth canto was printed, it was part of the marathon. And so when this book came out, it probably was in India, and wherever he was, in whatever city, he would give a class on this, and maybe 15 classes on this one verse. That's how important it is. Translation: My dear sons, there is no reason to labor very hard for sense pleasures while in this human form of life. Such pleasures are available even to the stool-eating hogs. Rather, you should undergo penances in this life by which your existence will be purified, and as a result you will be able to enjoy unlimited transcendental bliss. Therefore, those who are true yogis or learned transcendentalists are not attracted by sense pleasures, which are the causes of continuous material existence. The more one is addicted to material pleasures, the more he is entrapped by material miseries. So yeah, this sangsparshada bhoga, born of contact with the senses, that's sense pleasure. Dukkha yonaya is the source of all misery. Now if people knew that, then it would have to cause a revolution in their life, because it's like someone who knows, yes, I'm enjoying this. I'm enjoying this cigarette, but I'm also aware at every moment that I'm going to get cancer, and I'm going to have a total miserable life. How could he enjoy? You see, but that's actually the fact, and of course, not every pleasure is so obviously harmful as smoking, but the main problem is that just enjoying sense pleasure will bring you back again to another material life, and if it's in this age, probably you'll lose your human form of life. So what's the percentage in that? You're investing your time, you're investing your energy, you're investing your money in enjoying something that's ultimately going to cause you extreme suffering. You see, it's self-defeating. So that's what this verse is all about. It's the dukkha yoni. This sense pleasure is the source of all misery because it brings you back to another material body, and it is temporary, as opposed to sukham akshayam ashnute. Akshayam, without breakage, it's eternal. In the previous verse, it has a beginning and an end. So the wise, the Buddha, don't take their pleasure there. And this verse in the purport is one of the reasons why Rama is in the Hare Krishna mantra. Rama padenasu, Ramante yogino anante satyanande chidatmani. The yogis enjoy unending happiness. Now ananta has two meanings. It means it doesn't end in time, and it's also unlimited and never increasing. So, there's no comparison. They enjoy real happiness, satyananda chidatmani, which is spiritual. Therefore, the absolute truth, Brahma, is also known by the name of Rama. You see. So this verse is, born as human beings, we should not act like hogs, and, just try to enjoy sense pleasure. Rather, we should perform divine penance or divine austerity, because austerity can also be for demonic reasons, which will purify our existence. Yena sattvam shuddhyed. And what's the advantage of that? From that, yasmad brahmasaukyam tunantam. One can come to the point of enjoying spiritual happiness, which has no end and no boundary. So what makes more sense? Okay, so we'll pick up on text 23 tomorrow. Is Mahima out of town or something? I don't know. Okay. All right. Anyway, I hope she's all right and everything. We'll see you soon. Okay, I'm going to read you this poem. Oh, did I bring it? I didn't bring it. Oh, I'm sorry. I have to do another poem. Tomorrow I'll give you the refrain is like this. His lips are sweet, your lips are sweet, your smile is sweet, your lotus eyes and face are sweet. Your heart is sweet, your name is sweet, O King of Sweet, you're sweet complete. Now it's based on a poem by, I don't think it's Yamunacharya, but it's the Madhurashtika. The same idea. Every verse ends with Madhuradi Patera Kelam Madhuram. The king, everything is sweet about the king of sweetness, and then he has the same idea, this and that. So I went through all the different lila, the baby lila, the friendship, the friendship lila, and the rasa lila, and because it's very easy to rhyme like that if every line ends with the same word. You didn't have to worry about it, right? Yeah. So you'll hear that tomorrow. But in the meanwhile, I'll give you another poem. Let's see. Okay, this one you don't usually hear. And you won't hear it now because I forgot it. But it's one of the first ones I wrote. But here's a nice poem. Aho aho bir nakale vaduyate sudha sudhara modalam pade pade dine dine chandana chandra shitalam yasho yashoratana yasagiyate. Because at every step they drink a flood of wondrous nectar sweet, whose cooling power sandal paste enhanced with camphor can't defeat. They feel as if the raging blaze of Kali's days had ne'er begun. How blessed are they who fill their days with praise of Shri Yashoda's son. And that's exactly what Prabhupada did. Wherever he was either singing in bhajan, in his room, or he was chanting, giving a class, or he was meeting with some reporter or some professor or somewhere. But he was always glorifying Krishna and the process of devotional service. And so his days were blessed, and he was ultimately untroubled in this world. Even though he had to go through so many austerities to make the movement happen and expand and everything. He was the example of what we read today about equipoise, equanimous. Okay, so we'll adjourn then. Thank you for your attention. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Hari Hari Bol.